already thinking about bullet, that being Hikaru. But it was interesting to see the way he used the clock. Okay, yeah, well, and I'm going to read this comment again because Zach Ravel, Diamond member on Chess.com, has made the comment several times now about both sides playing openings where Black seems to be better very quickly out of the gate. And again, you kind of like, at least the evaluation bar says Black is doing just fine. Your thoughts on that?
I think that depending on the exact situation, you should take the eval bar with a grain of salt. And the reason I say that is because one, the depth that the players go to in their research, it is surpasses what we have on screen. They're using all of the best engines, and it takes a lot to do this kind of preparation. But this particular position, I would say, you know why Black is better here? White has the bishop pair, which sounds, hey, I love having the bishop pair. But where are those bishops going? Not
Right.
really clear where they can get to. And Black has more space both in the center and on the queen side. So I do, in fact, like Black's position. I don't think White's in any danger whatsoever. But I believe that Wesley has shown sturdy preparation with the Black pieces in his first two games.
Well, and if you weren't in the mood for some sturdy Italians on the board, not off the board, you're about to get it all day, everybody, because the way these guys are playing, I don't know that either side is going to budge until someone breaks, right? And maybe in the faster segments, we see more variety, but it has been all Italian all day for those of you just tuning in. And again, we're in a very, very close to equal position, with Hikaru electing to stay in the middle game, which I kind of agree with. The potential of the bishops probably a little bit better in the middle game, but neither side really wants to break the tension here, right? They both would like the other side to do something with the pawns before they have to blink.
You could say Wesley learned his lesson from game one. Out of the opening, his position looked quite nice. Then he took on e4 too early and didn't pay the price because he didn't lose the game, but he started drifting. And here, keeping that tension is favoring him, because if White takes on d5, Black is spoiled for choice in how to recapture. But look at that bishop on c7. I like how that bishop improves if White takes on d5. And if Black takes on e4, then that bishop on c2 does look a little better, even though it's behind its own pawn.
Yeah, and it also clarifies the structure for White, because one of the ideas of queen g3, I don't know if Hikaru is going to go for it yet. There is moves like knight h5 to meet f4, is at some point, just as we saw Wesley do when he was on the white side of the Italian, you think about that f-pawn and the potential of it opening up play on the king side. It's just a question of how to time it. Queen g3 also threatened bishop g5, everyone, which would have pinned the knight, so maybe another reason why Wesley quickly played rook to d7. But this is crazy. I don't want to agree with chat. I hate agreeing with chat. Everyone in chat knows that how I feel about agreeing with chat. But it's starting to be now game, the third game in the Italian, and I could use something a little spicier,
Okay.
That's all.
So the spicy Italian dish that we're being served here, not spicy enough for you, Danny?
Yeah. Is there such thing as a spicy Italian? I mean, there's spicy Indian food.
You clearly have never been to Subway if you don't know a spicy Italian.
The BMT at Subway?
And it also hasn't been an Italian. This is a Spanish.
If that didn't sound like the most white American thing to say, the BMT at Subway, I don't know what is, but I apologize for that.
Oh, Danny. These games have started out in the Spanish, though, just for the record.
Okay, h6, let's show on the analysis board why bishop takes h6 is not possible. You'd love to take advantage of a pin pawn. That's not a bug. But knight h5 would both attack the queen and win the bishop on the next move. Though there is queen g4. So hold on a second. Queen g4, if you take the bishop, I have the rook hanging. And if you take here, all we've got is a bowl full of jelly. Shout out to December's legendary Fat Man.
But then you can... yeah, actually, I'm trying to figure out how to...
He didn't do it. Hikaru quickly retreated, but that was definitely an interesting option.
Yeah, there must have been something there that just allowed Black to be happy. But good eye by you to look at that queen g4 move, because it made matters quite challenging. So Hikaru senses that it's a problem. Wesley not just blundering a pawn to a pin, and I don't think it would have worked out for White. But nonetheless, we get to a position where Wesley pushes his pawn forward to d4. And what's so interesting about that is the queen on e6 opens up to the a2 pawn. So before Black's rook was tied to the a pawn, now it's White's rook tied to the a2 square in the event you want to swing your rook to the center. So he plays a3, but I'm starting to like that move, bishop a5, pinning the pawn on c3. You may want to take on c3 at some point, open the d file, and start attacking some of white's more vulnerable pawns in the position. I think that Wesley has obtained the advantage here.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just optically, the human eye passes the smell test, if you will. Black has the advantage, and the computer agrees. And it's the cards being held on the c3 and d3 pawns here. Black could even just double, and if a trade happens, you would take on d2 before recapturing with a rook, and you've got this weak d3 pawn to just sort of bully for the rest of the game. So this is a critical moment right here for Hikaru. And Zach Rabel in Chess TV chat strikes again. Black has been better in these games. I can't argue with you, Zach, as much as you know I'd like to.
Yeah, it seems that the way the pawn structure has been played has allowed Black to get good positions. And it's very different than when Wesley was white. He opened up the F file. Not a single pawn has been traded, which means not a single file is open in this position. And the knight can hop around at some point, whereas the bishops are really just gasping for air. The bishop on c2 doing all of nothing besides defending the pawn on d3. The bishop on d2 doesn't have anything to spy and target. So I am liking Wesley's position. But Danny, we know full well, we've seen so many of these elite players play positions like this. How to make this position turn from looking good to approaching something that we can call on a winning
Wesley tries to start cashing in on the pressure by taking. It opens both the bishop and rook, but as you said, it's like, now what, right? And let's not forget the long-term things to watch out for if you're Wesley. Every one of these queenside pawns currently living on a light square. Now, this bishop is bad and has no real legs to stand on in terms of not having to defend d3. But you have to be careful of that, because if a blunder were to happen or if the position were to drastically change, you don't want to be in an endgame where this light square bishop has some long-term targets. Okay, this is looking better and better for Wesley. The knight now so dominant on e5, laughing at the big pawn on c2. And Hikaru is going to have his defensive hands full here in the final minute that he has on the clock.
Yeah, this is looking really, really bad for white. We talk about positions with two bishops as having the two bishop advantage. And wait a sec.
Whoa.
Wait.
We're going to have to find out what that was. To the Batcave we go. Analysis.
He could take on c3 and then put his queen on b3. That's what he could have done before.
And then queen to b3 just wins a pawn. Wow. No wonder they missed it. Kind of a... Okay, he goes for it and forces rook takes, but now there's got to be things with c4 and back rank problems, right? So bishop to b1 was the move that sent the eval bar going nuts for Black, and it's got to be based on the back rank problems.
It's exactly what's happening. You know, these rooks are infiltrating. Black is up a piece, and Wesley, unless something goes drastically wrong here, it looks like he's taking the first full point of the match.
Wow, and we see Hikaru